Just a little correction. I'm not working for the ILC, International Land Coalition, but I work for CIRAD, the French research organization, agricultural development, and we've been coordinating and participating with the ILC to a major project entitled Commercial Pressures on Land, like some other organizations that are here today, like SDF from India or IFPRI present in France. There have been 36 reports that are almost all available at a central place in 36 countries, and I've been asked to present these and answer the questions then asked through this project. Since the beginning of this conference, we've been bombarded actually by questions on figures on how much land is being grabbed effectively and in the papers, etc. And Ruth just extended this request. So I thought by giving you some of the figures we found in the ILC report and the CPL report, that's why I presented a couple of slides here. I'm not sure how I can... Through the ILC, we've been reviewing, gathering all the information in a database, and today we found out that about 18 million of hectares are concerned by these global land acquisitions. Are concerned, meaning that they are reported. So it is much more than what it has been identified by the IIED FAO report 2 years ago, or by the World Bank report last year. About 50 million in Africa, 20 million in Asia, and 8 million in Latin America, and about 1 million somewhere else. However, these are the reported ones. Through the project, we have verified, or we are in the process of verifying all these cases. So I'm calling to all of you now to participate. The database is public. It's useful for everybody. So if you have information on any of these cases in any of these countries, please contact the ILC or this platform to complete this database. So of those that have been effectively implemented, we see a totally different image here. Only less than 8 million in Africa, about 7 million in Asia, and Latin America 2 million. So we can see that the announced projects were much more important in Africa, I think 3 times as much as Asia. But of the effective ones, we are having almost a similar image here between Africa and Asia. The difference between our results and the World Bank report here is that not the majority are concerning food crops, but the majority is concerning biofuels. These are the announced ones. The effective ones is about similar. On a country basis, I'm not going to go through all the countries, but we see that for the announced projects, the countries that are the most affected are the Philippines in hectares, and Madagascar, a number of deals. It is Cambodia with much smaller deals, and Laos to Asian countries. What I just wanted to say on, well, I'll continue because I might be short of time at the end. For the investors, it's a very important figure here, because we see that China, but not South Korea or the Arab Emirates, but the USA and the UK are the 3 first countries concerned when we speak about the announcements. I didn't find a chart with the effective deals. But the very important part here is that concerning the effective deals, these three countries do not disappear, but diminish quite strongly. So either they're not completing their deals, or they have other strategies afterwards to invest in agriculture, and I'll come back to this later. What we also see is
I'm sorry, but about half the time is gone. I don't know how much.
Okay, I'll be very quickly. Important here is that we see a regionalization of the investments, especially in Asia. So Asian countries investing in Asia is very important. Here again, the same image where we, same type of data where we compare the three regions. Africa, we can see that most of the investment comes from outside. In Asia, most is intra-regional. Last one in the number of projects, because we were asked if it was a transnational issue. Here we see that the number of projects in total, this is the announced projects compared to the number of foreign agricultural projects, and we see that the different countries, or the countries that are the most affected, are changing here. So it is not only a transnational phenomenon. It is not only transnational. One of the merits of the CPL report was to emphasize this and to analyze these land grabbing in a broader aspects. And that's why we also called the project not land grabbing or large-scale land acquisitions, but commercial pressures on land, because we think it's a much broader phenomenon that concerns not only agriculture but also urban areas, but also other phenomena. And besides giving the word to local organizations, I think it's a very strong point of this project, where we give local organizations the opportunity to express themselves, to engage in research. We have tried to globalize and contextualize the analysis by not only identifying the triggers, but putting or recontextualizing them with long-term drivers and enablers. And when we see the enablers, it's the negligence of agriculture sector, the lack of land reform, significance of land insecurity, disempowerment of local governments. We are dealing with local issues at the national level. Well, I'll stop. I have a couple of questions here, but I'll give the
Thank you very much.
to
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Michael Taylor. I work with the Secretariat of the International Land Coalition. We're a coalition of civil society and intergovernmental organizations, just so you know where we're coming from. A quick word on this data. This is work in progress. So you're welcome to reflect on the data, but we have not published it yet. We plan to publish it in June with a bit more of a commentary and hopefully updated. It's a partnership between CIRAD, IOC, Oxfam, University of Bern, GIZ, and some other partners. We're just in concluding a few thoughts about how we frame questions on this issue and where we go from here. I think from the vast diversity of studies that we've done, alongside really a massively growing body of information that's come out over the last year, we're in a very different position now than a year ago in looking at this phenomenon. It's increasingly clear that there are going to be very few benefits for local populations and massive risks with the kind of investment model that involves large-scale land acquisitions. And I'm including the World Bank report in that came out last year, that basically says unless local people are more involved in deciding how this happens, it's very difficult to see how benefits will arise. It's clear that the poor are the main losers in this. So how do we look ahead, and how do we frame the debates as we move forward? And I think a key thing is to move beyond the rather simplistic arguments that we've been hearing a lot in the past of sort of very easy win-win solutions on the one hand, and maybe on the other hand a sort of a blanket statement of the legitimacy of land investments that blocks further discussion. And I think a key thing in getting beyond this polarization is conceptually separating between large-scale land acquisitions or land grabbing and investments, land-related investments. The key idea being that investments involving land do not necessarily need to involve acquiring land. And if we're looking for, if we ask ourselves the question, is it possible and under what conditions could land-related investments meet both the priorities of investors and meet the needs of local populations? What conditions would require that? And I think it's clear that the primary condition is that it does not involve transfer of land rights. That the land rights of local people are respected, and therefore that they're the beginning of any negotiation as to what happens on that line. So there's a lot of questions around that. To what extent is it possible? Can we find examples of this? And how do we, I think what's especially productive from a group like this and a clear political economy perspective, which is not shy of asking questions of power and how decisions are made and who's involved in those decisions, is what conditions could be put in place for real decision making by local communities and engagement of local communities with their own governments and with investors. So as I look around this room, I think there's very interesting work going on, there's huge importance of the information that's coming out. But what's critical as well is how this research is linked with the ongoing efforts of organizations that are directly affected by this to engage with their governments, to engage with global processes of the United Nations and other agencies, to engage with investors. I spent some of last week in Nairobi meeting with regional farmers organizations in Africa, talking about this issue. And many of these farmers organizations are saying, we need investment. Our governments are not giving us the money we need. We want to work together with investors, but obviously they want to work together with investors on their own terms and have quite clear ideas about how that should take place. But what we see in global debates on this is the voice of farmers organizations is not there. And so how could your research equip people on the ground who want to engage in these debates to do so in a position of better evidence, of better articulation of arguments? And I hope that after this session there'll be things like policy briefs that will go at this conference, that will go out, that could be used, that are accessible, not just to an academic audience.
Thank you very much.